Hello and welcome to the regular Friday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID. Apologies, Drew can't make it tonight. He's busy with work, which is fair enough. So no doubt he'll be back next week or whenever. Right. Got a great panel for you tonight. I'll introduce them in a second. Tonight we're going to discuss the Levy Vanakasham interview, then the Thomas Frank interview. We'll talk a bit about transfer news, right? And yeah. That'll be enough. That's enough for us to chew on tonight. So I'll start with our guests. I'll start with the local guest. Brad, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. It's a Friday, it's beer time, and it's the whole weekend of us. So,
are you keeping well hydrated? I was about to ask.
I am indeed. Yes, I've been drinking a lot of water. Well, a strange brown colour, but water anyway. So yeah. Right.
Okay. I'm actually on the ginger tea. And Steve from Stateside Footy.
Yes, sir.
How are you, mate?
I can't complain, man. It is a Friday evening here in the fighting town of Flint, Michigan, and all is well out here. And I'm looking forward to tonight's show. And I hope you guys I hope all of you guys had a productive week.
Do you live in? Are you in Lansing, Michigan? How do you pronounce that? Lansing or Lansing?
Lansing. Yeah, Lansing is about an hour away. I work in Lansing, so yeah, we're pretty close. About an hour.
Okay, Alan, a regular friend of the show as well. How are you?
Hey guys, doing well. Enjoying Friday. It's getting very summery hot here, so just enjoying that, enjoying the pool, and enjoying the fact that it's Friday, almost Saturday.
Oh, and I forgot to put Brad's link up here as well, guys. As well, Blue Sofa Songs, get over there as well.
Cheers. There's Tottenham Soul on there as well. So.
Right, so now we go to Ian, who's a fellow admin and co-owner of this podcast of ours. How are you, Ian?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm hot as well. I'm in southern Spain, but hot here. Looking forward to the show.
Right, I'll just go through the chat before we start the show. We got about 20 viewers, and we got a few in the chat. Let's go through and see. Right, we've got Peter. Ian, you want to say something about Peter?
Yeah, Peter 703. Yeah, 1203.
You'll be pleased to know, Peter, that the admins, which is basically, or the owners, which is me and Ian, decided that all the shows are going to go at 10 o'clock now in future because we keep picking up people late on the show when we're ending. Why can't you stay on a bit longer? So we will experiment with that. I'm no doubt it'll be a success because we've got a pretty loyal following. Then we got Milton, another regular follower of the show now. He's saying hello to you, Peter. And he's saying it's 7:02 a.m. in Wollongong.
Wollongong.
Is that what it is?
Wollongong.
For those who've been to Australia, like Brad has, obviously. Then we got Spurs fan John from X Cheese Room. John, big up, mate. Hope Max is tolerating the weather. which is actually John's dog. He's a beauty, Max. Him and the sea the other day in the video with John and family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Milton, did you get my number? Sounds interesting. What a catchy intro. Love it. Yeah, my throat's still sore from doing the vocals, Milton. Right. And the outro is one that I composed that one, but Ian composed the outro, which is excellent. So if you do stay to the end of the show, you get to see that. 5:03 here in Michigan, State 03. Not too bad.
Yeah. Is anyone listening in the UK?
Well, I would have thought most of them are being beer gardens. I would have thought.
It's Friday night, Ian. It's Friday night, so
yeah.
And it's in the UK. It's traditional in the UK to go out, get drunk, and talk bollocks on a Friday night, right? So, so we got morning, John from Milton. Have you got Facebook, Peter? See, that's what we like, people to communicate and link up. Got it now. No WhatsApp, all right? If you want to come on our WhatsApp, Milton, all you got to do is give us your phone number. We'll add you if you're not already on there on a different name or something. I'll put my number. Can you see it? Peter's in our WhatsApp group, so can't it, mate? Can't see it, he means, right? Okay. I'll put it on here.
Yeah.
Right, let's start. We've got 26 viewers. Let's get a banner up. I'm going to start with Ian because may only be hanging with us for an hour. So let's scroll up. Where are we? Ian, let's talk about this, the Levy Venkatesham interview, right? Well, what was your take on it?
I thought it was the most fascinating thing I've seen out of Daniel Levy since he became chairman. I mean, look, one of the things that in business it's important is you communicate properly. And one of the biggest criticisms of Levy is he doesn't communicate at all, which then leads to the suspicion he doesn't care, he's only interested in the money side or what have you. He has no passion for the club, has no interest and what have you. Now, I don't doubt for a minute that business is his number one aim and making money is his main aim as a result of that. But for the first time ever, we've seen something that might even be called passion for the football club. And he set out, it's not quite a vision because he's not really in the vision business in terms of where he can take it. He can only assist it. But when you as a chairman say, I want to win the Premier League and I want to win the Champions League, you've really set yourself up as a hostage to fortune on that. Because that interview is there for time immemorial. That's one of the things, if I say something now, might not be of any interest to anybody, but it's on YouTube forever until somebody takes it down. I think the thing with Venkatesham is interesting because one of the things I read about him during his time at Arsenal was he was a very, very good communicator, both at board level, but also with the coaching team and with the supporters. That's quite a skill. And it seems to me that he's the one where the Daniels inspired it and said, I need to improve my communication skills with the fans. Or Venkat's come along and said, you need to improve your communication skills with the fans. Because if you have any, excuse me, I've got an anti-Mozzie thing going, it's gone down my throat. If you've got any ambitions for the team, you need to share them. And I have no doubt with the people that he's brought in, and then like Venkatesham, because I don't think he's come, for the £1 million a year salary or whatever he's getting. I think he's one again that's come into the business to improve the football side as a senior manager within the business, and for the two of them to stand on stage and to make those kind of assertions with big smiles, with real enthusiasm, I thought was a real eye-opener. The proof of the pudding's in the eating, and I think we're going to go on to Thomas Frank. You're going to talk about transfers. I hope I can stay for all of that, because there's lots of big names being banded about that we're really trying to go after some very, very big players. Time will tell. But that was a side of Daniel Levy I didn't know existed. And I certainly, if it didn't think I'd ever see it as a Spurs supporter.
Right, I'll come across to you, Alan, and drop down to Steve and Brad. So, Alan, what was your take on this interview?
Well, we're the double is on, right? According to Daniel Levy, the double is on at least.
Not the quintuple, no?
Well, I guess we'll take what we can get. That was the most, as Ian kind of rightly points out, that was the most passionate I think I've ever seen Daniel Levy. I guess winning something has stirred something likely laying dormant in Daniel Levy that, because of the lack of accolades, he hasn't been able to flex that muscle, and suddenly he has the opportunity, and now he wants to continue to flex the muscle. So I think it's very good. It feels very late. Daniel Levy was already the owner when I was watching, and for you guys, you've probably seen him his whole time, and was it 20 something years, and it's a little late for him to start saying, oh, you know what I really want to do is win. It's such a basic thing for, you would think, someone that's part owner would want, but has never really conveyed to the fan base. I liked Vinay Venkatesham. I liked that he was the one showing Thomas Frank around. He was in a lot of the videos with Thomas Frank. It's something that we didn't see the previous person. What's his name? Scott Munn. We never saw. I don't think I ever physically saw Scott Munn like in front of camera. Never.
I don't think he existed.
He was just like he was sort of a fiction, a legal fiction than he was a real person. But it's nice to see. Obviously, Vinay seems to be more hands-on, and I like the hands-on approach. He seems vested into the success of the club, which we haven't always felt with our higher-ups. In fact, I would say there has been a distinct distance between the fan base and the ownership, and there's a horrible disconnect. But I think what they're trying to do, and maybe it's better publicity than generally Tottenham Hotspur does for itself, but they did a pretty good job, I think, of selling Thomas Frank and Vinay to us. So I'm excited about what's to come.
Steve, your take?
Yeah, well, first off, it's been a long time since I've seen a grown man look at another grown man with the hard eyes that Daniel Levy has for Vinay. It really looked like Daniel Levy was struggling to contain himself from jumping over him and embracing him and giving a kiss. Like that dude, Daniel Levy has a serious bromance, a crush on Vinny, and that was the thing that came across in that video. But what I will say is that I liked what Vinny had to say, because it looks like he's got a plan, and it looks like he has ambition himself. And what I like about the fact that he's a good communicator, so there's going to be transparency between him, Paratici, to Lang, to Thomas Frank, and it looks like that he wants to be. He gives the impression that he wants everybody moving in the same direction. There's not going to be any backbiting. There's not going to be any leaks to the media like we saw under Ange Postecoglou and Scott Munn and all those guys. So it looks like he's trying to establish. He looked like he's trying to establish a focal point, a plan for this team to be successful, and that's what gets me excited. On the Daniel Levy side, though, the one thing that I took from it was that he's finally he sounded actually what's the word I'm looking for? Authentic when he was saying that he wants to win the Premier League and he wants to win the Champions League, which is something that we have never heard. And I think that, and maybe I'm crazy on this one, but I think that he knows his time as chairman is coming up, and he wants to go out with one of those trophies before he's done. So I guess it's better late than never. But that being said, it's like for me, I'm more excited about Vinny than I am with Daniel Levy sitting across from Vinny with a crush, with a huge crush on his face.
Right. Do you agree with David Clark here? And what's your take on the interview?
Yeah, it was a millionaire's loving, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah, it really was.
I'm not gonna make any comments on Vinny because I don't know the guy. It's the first time I've ever heard of him when he got the job. But yeah, it was almost like, Daniel, you got to make yourself seem human. It's like, oh yeah, I like red wine. You know,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, I don't know. And the good thing about the interview was the fact when Daniel Levy says, I want to win the Premier League, I want to win the Champions League, that's on video now, it's on film. Because I thought to myself, well, now you got to put your money where your mouth is, that sort of thing. Okay?
Absolutely right.
You know, so it's there. We've got a record of it now. It's taken him 24 years, but he's come out and said, I want to win everything. So that's great. As far as Vinny's concerned, yeah, look, I don't know the guy. I'm not going to diss him because I don't know what he's going to do. It's really weird actually because I've seen a lot of people like Ali Gold saying, "Oh, the Arsenal Supporters Trust say he's brilliant, etc., etc., etc." I sit next to an Arsenal fan at work, and he said, "Oh, he's an idiot," you know. So who knows? Who knows? But I think the thing that came out at that interview that I really thought is going to be worth something was I like the fact that Vinny said, I'm going to be in charge of the football matters on and off the field. So hopefully that keeps Daniel out of it, you know. But the thing that got me in that whole thing was that we've now got, you know, it's taken him 24 years. Daniel Levy has actually come out and said, I want to win everything. And it's like, well, now you've got to put your money where your mouth is, mate, you know. You can't renege on, you know, I'm not going to pay an extra $5 million for that player or whatever it might be.
Right.
You've got to do it now because we all know as Tottenham fans, we all know we've got a really good young squad there that have got a lot of potential, but we still need 2, 3, 4 classy, experienced players to push us to the next level. So that's what I got out of it anyway. So, but it was it was it was very entertaining, put it that way.
Yeah, you know, it's one thing. It's one thing that he wants to win. It's one thing for Levy to want to win the Premier League and the Champions League, but the question is he going to do the hard? Is he going to do the hard things, which is actually put his money down and bring in players that can actually help him achieve that goal, and pay the wages because he's been so risk averse. So to me, it's just lip service unless he's willing to actually do the hard things.
Yeah, that interview, when I listened to it, I mean, I picked up on all the things you picked up on, but also the fact that there was no sign of Levy stepping aside in the near future, though, was there? The way he talked.
And it may be that's not going to happen. I mean, I think the things I've read, I think even if somebody came in with a minority stake, he's staying. If somebody came in and said, I want to buy the entire shareholding, logically, from a purely business point of view, if you're putting up £4 billion, you need some continuity. You need people there that are going to run and manage the business, who know the business. Chelsea did it the exact opposite way, but just about every other business that acquires another business and a football club keeps the same. Some of the same senior people in situ. David Clark's made an interesting point, although I think it's erroneous.
It's in Northline.
Charrington. I mean, Peter Charrington isn't there to run the football club. I mean, this goes back to the question about Levy still being there. What we don't know is whether Peter Charrington's there to help supervise the selling of the Levy Family Trust, or part of the Levy Family Trust, or if he's there for the Levy Family Trust to put more money into the business, which is what I've read as well, and hence the number of players we're being linked with. Yes, we haven't signed anybody yet. So I don't expect Peter Charrington to have anything to do with the football side at all. I expect him to have a big part to play in the money and the shareholding, but I certainly don't expect him to have any part in the football side. And in fact, I would be concerned if Peter Charrington was involved in any of these videos whatsoever, because it's like, we're going to win the FA Cup, we're going to win the Champions League, and you can see him sitting there. Not if I don't give you the money. And
Right.
you know,
Mm.
so seriously, I don't expect Peter Charrington to have any involvement whatsoever in that. But I think his role may become clear. I don't think he's joined the board to sit there for 5 years doing nothing. I think we'll find out, maybe even before the end of the summer, exactly what his role has been and what he's doing. But by the sound of it, yeah, Daniel Levy isn't going anywhere.
Mm.
Mm.
Do you think the same way, Alan?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I my attention. Something for work. I didn't hear what was said.
Right.
Oh, do you
Okay,
think
let me
that
rephrase
Levy's
the
going to be
question.
there long
Do you
term?
think? I mean, obviously, we're all going to hold Levy's feet to the fire if he doesn't come up with the goods, right? And the fact that we've won a Europa League, which is fantastic, right? We've all got our chests up high, pushed out high now, like my little logo on the top right-hand corner here now, which is everywhere now. Changed all the old logos to that one. Yeah, Levy has to like put his hand in his wallet now, Alan, doesn't he? I mean, we've won a trophy. If he's got illusions of us finishing in the top 5 to get Champions League next year, which at the moment none of us in our right minds think we're capable of getting, right? He's going to have to spend big, isn't he?
Well, the thing is with Levy is that it's been 24 years where he's been saying, "Oh, we're not going to pay that extra $2 million for that player, or whatever it might be," and now he's set himself up. Now he has to. We're the lowest revenue to wages in the league, and as the owners putting in their money, we're the lowest in that as well. So, and I think last season we actually saw some real proper protests, you know, and I think he must know. I mean, he's not an idiot. No matter what we might think of him, he's not an idiot. He must know that if it doesn't work this time, there's going to be a lot of things to pay for, you know. So,
Right.
yeah,
Did he say that there wasn't a point to have a world-class stadium without supporting the football?
This is the other thing he said. This is the other thing he said in that interview. Actually, was that all of the stuff, that all the revenue that comes from the stadium, like all the concerts and whatever it might be, all goes into the football club. You know, so again, he's putting himself out there as my money or his money or Enid's money is going to go to the football club to win things. But unfortunately, you need a lot of money to win things. You've got to pay the wages. You've got to pay the money to get top players in to win things. He must realise that. And and I think with the investment side of things, as I understand it, you have to have a cash position. So you have to have cash in the bank. So because most transfers are done over 5 years, this sort of thing, you know, so you pay 100 million, or whatever it might be, 20 million a year, blah, blah, blah. Players like Eze, who I think would be an absolute great player at Tottenham, but he's got a release clause. You've got to pay the 68 million up front. But you need that cash in the bank. You can't say, "Oh, I've got it in assets." You need the cash to actually pay. So at the end of the day, we've got to get some sort of cash into our bank account to do this sort of stuff that we need to do. Remember 2 or 3 years ago under Conte, and we had the big thing with the shares, and we were able to draw down £150 million, of which we drew 100 million, and that's what it was, because you have to have cash up front to do it. So,
and that may happen again with Charrington. You see, it may not. Yeah. I'm not saying it will. You know, he's clearly coming. You know, David has said that he's a Bahamas man. He is. Listen, I'm not delusional on this. He is very much a Lewis man. But the fact that he's come onto the board means that something is going to happen.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're right.
That's what I was going to point out. Maybe this is Levy just trying to curry favor with the fan base to make himself indispensable. Who knows?
I think that that last year's protest was an eye-opening experience for those guys that just assumed that the fans were going to stay there and be loyal year after year after year until there was cold water thrown in his face. But the interesting thing though is, when you're asking, do I think Levy's going to be there long term? I don't think he's going to be within these next 5 years. I can't see him still being in this position past that. when I think about Charrington and his position on the board, and knowing the dislike between Lewis's daughter and Daniel Levy, and all of a sudden the Joe Lewis man all of a sudden comes in and sits on the board, my mind can't happen to water. Like I'm trying to connect these dots right here. And there's always that one question of whether or not there's a bigger play as far as either a small investor or a complete takeover, and whether he's there to protect the interest of the Joe Lewis Trust, or if this is something where they're slowly trying to push Levy out the door.
If you look at Chelsea and Manchester City, they've won stuff because they've had owners that have put the money in. Here's the cash, back when you can. We can make as much revenue as we want, but at the end of the day, it's cash in the bank that rules the world. And this is the thing. And so he's got himself in this position now where he has to act now. He has to get some sort of investment in the club.
Correct.
He's put it out there, so we'll see. Hopefully.
Yeah, but I think that investment was only to try to cover for some of the projects that we're trying to do. Correct? Right, the hotel and some of these other things that they want to do. That's why he wants the investment, so he can continue to build on his capital projects.
That's a good point. Because he's come out on YouTube and said, "I want this club to win things." Yeah. So if he gets investment in to build a frigging hotel, then we're going to know about it. And we, as we saw last season, the protest. It was immeasurable, absolutely. And fair play to the guys who used to stand outside the stadium, etc. But last season, it was massive. He must know that. As I said, he's not an idiot. He must know that. Otherwise, he's been there, 24 years, and apart from a couple of seasons, we've never got anywhere close from doing what he wants to do.
I mean, he could have just said, Levy, we want to be more competitive in the Champions League and the league. He could have just said that.
Yeah, he could have stopped. Yeah.
But he didn't.
No, exactly.
So something is happening for him to go that far.
Yeah.
Because, during that interview, the two of them talked about whether Daniel was thick-skinned or thin-skinned. I don't care who you are. I don't think anybody wants to hear themselves called a, CUNT by supporters and stuff like that. So something is happening. I don't know what it is. Sean Butler doesn't know what it is. But there is something going on. We'll see. The proof of the pudding is going to come later. But in 6 months' time, and we're out of the Champions League and we're mid-table, people are going to say, "Come on, Daniel, what was that about?" Particularly if he hasn't made the statement signings.
So here's the interesting thing, though, right? Because I was reading this just a couple days ago that money invested from the ownership groups, and I'm not talking about sponsorship revenue or TV revenue and some of these other things, over the tenure of Enoch, the money that they've invested specifically from them into the football club equates to like roughly right around £5 million a season. And when you look at Liverpool with the Fenway Sports Group, or Arsenal, or Man City, from that investment from the owners themselves, Spurs rank below championship sides from owner investment, and to me that runs counter to the to some of the things that Daniel Levy is saying, because if this is something that you want to do, then that has your investment into the football, Enoch's investment into the football club actually has to match what other ownership groups, the top 6 ownership groups are willing to invest into the club in order to attain some of these goals. But that being said, all this money that they have invested in the club, which attunes to about £5 million a season, runs to the status quo of what they've been doing, which is self-sufficiency. It runs counter to the narrative of them wanting to win a champion, to win the Champions League or the Premier League. As far as investment from their own pockets, it doesn't even come close to winning an FA Cup, let alone a Premier League.
I think that's what Ian is saying also. Furthers what Ian was saying. I think that he must know something's going on in the background, because he's had 24 years to stick his neck out like this, and he never did. And now suddenly he's
Do you guys, to throw this out to all of you, do you guys think then that either there, I mean, in the financial report, if you go and you'll find there's probably 12 to 14 companies that work out of the White House that are Spurs, right? So any money from them companies who've took money from the club, any profit they make goes into Spurs, whether it's a property project or what, it has to, right? Because it's part of the financial
I've got
report.
someone investigating all this, by the way. So,
all right, okay. So, guys, do you think by what Levy has said that there's either money in those companies, line of accounts in those companies, or do you think Levy's made quite a bold statement because he knows an investor's coming soon? And it has to be very soon if it's going to work in this window.
April last year, in the annual report, Levy said we need to expand the equity base of the company. Now, for those who understand stock shares of companies, that's not Daniel and I want to sell our shares and get out, because that money just goes into their pockets. Expanding the equity base is that somebody's coming in and they're creating new shares for the business, and that money would dilute Enoch, would dilute Lewis, would dilute Levy, and would create new money for the business. So is that what's happening now? Because if somebody comes in and wants 25% of the company, that's technically putting £1 billion into the company. £1 billion. Now, let's say they want to build the hotel, which they do, and they want to build, is it a White Webs? They want to build a ladies' training stadium or whatever.
White Webs, I was there as a kid.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did too, but don't hold that against Daniel Levy too. He's responsible for a lot. But let's say of that money, just hypothetically, 250 million's going to the training ground. It might not cost that, the women's thing. 250 million is going to the hotel, and 250 million's going is it new money for team players. Don't mean that's all going to be spent a week tomorrow. I'm just hypothesizing. I mean, Daniel Levy has made himself a hostage to fortune. These people don't do anything by accident. Daniel Levy doesn't come out and say anything like that publicly. He is very guarded. And here he was saying, we're going to try and win the FA, not even the FA Cup, the Premier League and the Champions League. Well, it was more than bold.
The problem we have here with what I was saying, he wants to win stuff, and he's put it out there. And it's not me that came up with this, someone else came up with this. It's the fact that Bournemouth and Palace have got a lot of players that everyone wants. And we want their players. The problem is, if we renege or we go, I'm not going to pay that one and pay this, whatever, we sort of go, I want this, we just keep bargaining. They'll start selling their players to other clubs, and it'll come to the fact that the player that we actually want, they'll say, well, actually, no, we've got our money now. We don't need to sell this player. And that's what worries me, is that we're always too slow in the transfer market because we're trying to get the greatest bargain. And the thing is, if Daniel Levy comes out there and says, I want to win the Premier League and I want to win the Champions League or whatever, you got to take that risk. And that's, we'll talk about Thomas Frank later, but he said, if you don't take a risk, you're taking a risk. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. So, Daniel Levy, he's got to take the risk. He's got to pay that bit of money, extra money, to get these players in before Palace or Bournemouth say, well, we've sold the players we want. We don't need the money anymore.
If Ezzy and Wemo are Spurs players on the 1st of July, I'm buying into what he said.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the interesting thing is not necessarily with Mbemo, because it looks like he's probably going to go United. But if they end up with Xavi Simons from Red Bull Leipzig, the number 10 that plays for the Dutch national team, that would be a signal of intent. Getting Semenyo from Bournemouth would be a signal of intent.
Exactly,
and that's one of the things. And that's the reason, that's the reason why fans doubt him, because that has never been the case. Because Daniel Levy has been so risk averse. Has been so risk averse throughout his career.
I think to balance it out, I mean, I always take a balanced perspective on everything in life, but to balance it out. I mean, when people say other clubs going bang, they sign a player, it doesn't help. It doesn't happen like that in reality at all. It just doesn't, and I'll explain why. And not with top quality players. If you go in like we went in for Dan, so you might strike that deal quite early. Player wants to come, no lack of interest in him, we get him. That's quick. If you use Man United as an example with Cunha, right? They would have had conversations before, and on the 1st of June, they activated his clause. When did they sign him? On the 12th. That's 12 days plus any previous conversations. So these deals are complicated nowadays. There's merchandising contracts which are separate. So they don't happen like that. But if the selling club knows we're going to negotiate and all that, you can speed the process up a bit. But I don't even like when the Galacticos have been sold, before, when Real Madrid are bought and Barcelona and PSG. I mean, like, these deals, you are hearing them virtually a year in advance before anything happens. I mean, the real quality players, the deals take that bit longer to do. And if it means we have to wait a little bit longer, I mean, I want to say, and I'm sure we all do, and we would take the Simons or whatever. I'd actually prefer Buemo over Semenyo. I think Semenyo's overhyped, to be honest with you. I think he's overhyped. To be honest, I don't want him. But that's my opinion, and I could be wobbed. But any player comes to this club, I'm supporting them anyway, right? But so money. So okay, so I get the impression that the purse strings are going to be loosened. I don't think Levy has no choice. He's got to find the money, and Harry May. I mean, look, we've been looking for someone to buy a stake in this club with Rothschild's bank for like a good few seasons. We've delayed a naming rights deal as well, which would probably pay the interest on our debt, each year, right? So because the stadium brand is proven to be bigger than a naming rights deal, so they've held off. So, I mean, you guys got any more on this before we move on to the next topic?
The interesting thing though is David Clark points out something that's that I actually believe as well too, and I have a few contacts that are in and around Tottenham Hotspur, and one of the things that I keep hearing is that Daniel Levy himself wants an investment. He doesn't necessarily want a total takeover, but the reality is the main investor, the Joe Louis Family Trust, do not want to be in the football game anymore. They want to cash out. They've held it for 2 decades. Credit to Daniel Levy, because I mean, the franchise valuation has continued to climb to the point where I think the last time I saw it, Spurs were worth like $3.25 billion. And any sale of the majority of the team is probably going to be somewhere in that $5 to $6 billion range. And the reality is the Joe Louis Family Trust actually wants that windfall. They think the time is right for that windfall. And so whether that be Saudi, a Saudi takeover, a Qatari takeover, or an American investment firm taking over, to me, that's when I hear Levy talk about that. To me, it always feels like he understands that the time is coming close, and so he's trying to have ambition before it all ends. Because I do believe that within the next couple years, the majority stake in Tottenham Hotspur will be sold. I believe it.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've chewed on that long enough. We'll move on to the next subject. The Thomas Frank interview. Steve, I found it very refreshing. I know very little about this guy. I've been watching tactics videos on him because it's like this is my time of year actually when I watch a lot of football videos, and like annoy you lot to death because I send everyone out these videos and post them everywhere because I think if we're interested in the player, before other fans will comment and say this guy's crap, rubbish, and whatever, and quite a few of them will be, right? Just please look at the video first before you comment. You know what I mean? Like, so what did you take from this interview?
I thought it was endearing. I thought he was absolutely genuine in this talk. What I liked about him was the understanding of Tottenham as a football club and getting back to the roots of what Tottenham Hotspur football actually is. But one of the things that stood out for me was I can't necessarily remember the quote. He said something about not taking risk, or taking risk is tantamount to not. I can't remember the exact quote verbatim, but it's
if you don't take risk, you are at risk. He said.
There you go. If you don't take risk, you're at risk. That's exactly right. And I like the fact that he's not afraid to be brave. And the way that he describes his style of football is something that is identifiably Tottenham Hotspur football. But when I was watching the behind the scenes video of Thomas Frank as he was being toured in and around Hotspur Way, his first interactions with James Madison and some of these other players. He seemed genuinely pleased to see these players, and it just from first meet, it looked like he ingratiated himself with some of these players. Where we heard some of the fallout of Ange's dismissal, and there was some hurt feelings. But the good news is like there's certain members of the leadership committee of this team that were actually quite happy to meet Thomas Frank for the first time, and it just looks like that he belongs there. It looks, what I mean? Like he feels like he's already been there for a couple of years already.
He appears to be the right fit for you, yeah?
Yeah.
He's the right fit.
That makes me feel good because I don't think there's going to be a learning curve between Thomas Frank and his players. And it looks like that he is going to be very good for some of these players. And I just like the fact that he ingratiated himself and he was genuine. And it sounds like he really does care about the fan base.
Brad, did you find it as refreshing as Steve?
I thought it was a very good interview. I felt that because the one thing that worried me about Thomas Frank when he was linked with the club was the fact that, Brentford are quite defensive, etc., etc., etc. That's what worried me, and I thought the fan base won't accept that. Then I got to thinking, well, actually, if you look at how they played in the Championship, they're very, very attacking. So when I saw the interview and he said, well, we want to play attacking football, and he realised that Spurs play attacking football. I was impressed by that. And then what really impressed me, compared to the club, he was so, when he talked about Ange Postecoglou, he said, this guy's a legend and we're going to stand on his shoulders. He started the base. We're going to continue that. And he mentioned a few players, young players, that sort of thing. I thought it was very, very good. And I was one person that, out of all the managers that we looked at, it's probably the best one we got. But I was a bit suspect at first. But I think it's going to be, I think it's very, very good interview. He obviously comes across really well. I think it's going to come across in interviews very well. I think the players are going to, be good, for him, that sort of thing. So, I was very, very impressed. And he said, the fact that actually this club are winners, and Ange Postecoglou, for me, you can go on about his coaching, but for me, his motivational skills were brilliant. And I think Thomas Frank is going to continue that. And he said in that interview, these guys are winners. They are winners. Mm-hmm. And then he said, and we want them to become serial winners. I like hearing that from my manager, coach, whatever you want to call him. Yeah. So I thought that's very good. So I think I was going to say something else now. I forgot what it was now. But he can't play table tennis to save his life, but that doesn't really matter. But the other thing I did notice in that, if you look behind the scenes of that interview, it went into the Tottenham Hotspur training ground and stuff that I haven't seen. You could have a holiday there. You could take your family
and everything. Yeah.
It's just brilliant.
He looked blown away when he was touring it. Yeah, dude, he looked blown away that it was that it was that big and that good. He just couldn't understand.
Yeah, little bug used to take him around a big map and that. So I thought
there's about 16 pitches over there. There's one indoor pitch, AstroTurf. But you've got a hotel there, right, which is shaped like a crescent because it's got to blend in for ecology reasons, right? With the council have done that, and I think that holds X amount of rooms, and even in them bedrooms with the big screens they've got and all that, all the mattresses and pillows are designed by these sleep experts. And the players have the same mattresses and pillows in their homes as well, right? It's also professionally done. I mean, like you've got the medical side there, you've got the weights rooms, you've got the warm up and down rooms and things like that. It's got. I mean, it really is a 5-star world class training ground. But no, we're still adding to it. We're still adding a medical part to it, So
No, I thought he said the right thing. I mean, obviously, you're going to say the right things. You're not going to say. You're not going to go on an interview and say, well, pretty rubbish. It's gonna be difficult, you know. But no, he said the right things. He showed a right amount of enthusiasm, and I think because I thought at first well, he's been at Brentford for such a long time, he might feel comfortable there, blah blah blah. But no, he thought no, I want a challenge. He's come to Tottenham, and yeah, hopefully he could be the new Pochettino. Maybe, who knows? We'll see.
Alan, he did well to contain his excitement, didn't he? Looking around, he looked like someone who's brought from the Stone Age into the 21st century. It makes you wonder what he's had to use before, like, you know.
That is absolutely what I was going to start saying, because I'm going to mirror what Steve and Brad said, but to add to it, he looked like a kid in a candy store, right? You can get the sense that this is his time. He feels like this is his moment. He upgraded. As far as club with resources, Tottenham is a much larger club than Brentford. And I think I think he feels like, you know, I deserve this. This is my opportunity. And I like that. He obviously wants to be there. You know, as someone, it's interesting in his interview, someone he didn't talk about, and I think Ali Gold points this out when he does his Golden Guest, is Heung-min Son. He doesn't talk about Sonny at all in the interview. He talks about other players, but Sonny he didn't talk about. And I didn't know if that was because he's the club captain and he's arguably the most popular player we have. It was kind of telling to me that he didn't say anything, because Sonny normally would be the first player a new manager would talk about. But
he might have said something, and I might have edited it out. So
yeah,
it's possible. But they chose to leave that out.
Yeah, and on that, I mean, like, we've got about a 29-man squad. He can't mention everyone when you look at it.
Let me come back to.
No, I understand.
Can I first of all say, there's a lot of people in the chat. So Ryan, come on, you Pers, Nita, come on, Graham, Spurs GCTV, Daniel, and Josie, Aussie and Josie, Tagaro. There are a lot of you in here. So hi, thank you so much for coming on.
Any Sofarettes in there?
The channel. If you can hit a like and hit a subscribe, if you're not subscribed, suspect you all are, please do. Jock Stein, when he was manager of Celtic, said the Celtic jersey does not shrink to fit an inferior player. Let me put it another way. The Tottenham dressing room doesn't shrink to fit an inferior coach. And the boys were asking me before we went online, because I think a couple of weeks ago when we went on after Ange had been dismissed and what have you, I was pretty upset. I was very disappointed for Ange.
I was.
You know, I was. I'm an Ange fan. I was an Ange fan. I still am. I thought he did. Yeah. I think he'd earned the chance to carry on. But everything I've seen about Thomas Frank since he joined and that interview made me take a step back and go, wow. And when I talk about the dressing room not shrinking to fit an inferior coach or manager,
I've just thought.
He said, let me just finish this, Brad, let you come in. I think that he's absolutely demonstrated his confidence about what he wants to do, his confidence in his ability to achieve it. I think he absolutely gets our football club, totally gets what we want, and I think we'll play that attacking front foot football. He described it. Whereas I don't think we'll be as reckless or feckless in midfield as we have been. The kind of attacking fast players that we're at least linked with excites me. And it really does follow on. I think that there looks like there is not only is a clear direction of travel, which we don't always see at Tottenham, there is a direction of travel that everybody appears to be going the same way. Proof of the pudding will be, when we see the players that are signed and what have you. But everything I saw from him, he mentioned Bentancur, he mentioned Bergvall, he mentioned Archie Gray, he's mentioned how much he likes Solanke. and what have you. Yeah, he didn't mention Tell, but he didn't mention Van der Ven. He didn't mention any of the goalkeepers. He didn't mention Romero. Yeah. So it may be, look, some will go. And we will see. I hope he can persuade Romero to stay. I suspect that Son will leave after the Asian tour. That's business, I'm afraid. And good luck to him if he does. I suspect that we just need to upgrade now with what Sonny can offer in a high octane dynamic team. But from being quite cynical about Thomas Frank, I'm now really looking forward to the season starting and seeing what he can do.
To me, Ange was the first coach that actually went with the club motto, to dare us to do. He made a decision back in January, and I actually, there's a video of me saying this. He said, we're going to put everything into Europa League. He gets it. He gets it. The winning stuff is what it's all about. And we're all at the parade, blah, blah, blah. I like the fact that Thomas Frank said, I want players to take risks. I love that. Yeah. And that, taking risks to dare is to do. That's what it's all about. And
he's also a hands-on coach. And he made that clear, which Ange clearly wasn't. And I think that might make a big difference as well, particularly to players, because they'll all have individual plans alongside the team plan.
Don't get me wrong. I think the first season will be a learning curve for the players, because let's face it, they haven't really been coached a lot in defending, or if you believe what you read and see.
Yeah.
Now we've got a coach that coaches to the nth degree. No matter who you're playing, it will change it. So they've got to learn that.
Right.
And footballers aren't the brightest people in the block. So I think the first season, we've got to be really patient, I think, in the first season as it takes its time. And the cup's great. Cups, you've always got the draw of the cup. You got a bit of luck. You only have to, you've got to be good on the day, that sort of thing. So there's always a possibility of a cup run. But as far as the Premiership's concerned, we got 38 games. I think we've got to be a little bit patient this season. But to be fair, that's what I said when it's Ange's first season. Let's be fair. Someone asked me today, actually, where did I expect Spurs to be next season? Or and I said anything from mid-table and above. That to me is, I think that'll for the first season. Yeah, I don't think you can expect any more.
The thing that should ingratiate all Spurs fans to Thomas Frank was he was classy when it came to Ange Postecoglou.
Exactly.
He didn't take the opportunity to kick a dead horse, and he recognized the contributions that Ange did, and basically said that he was a club legend for winning a European trophy, and now it's his job to take the momentum, to take the expectations, and then add on to that. It wasn't like, hey, I'm a better coach. It's like no. Like Ange did what he did, and it was just an absolutely classy statement. For me, that garners a lot of respect for me, right? Because it shows that you're a good man for doing it, right? Absolutely. And so, it is what it is. He's not mentioning players, whatever. I could care less about that. But for me, it's endearing yourself to the fans and putting ourselves in a position where we're not going to have protests, anything like that. All that negativity is going to go to the side. It's about the here and now. And improving on what we did last season. So me personally, I think Thomas Frank is a classy human being.
Right. Good time to plug the show. We got 70 plus of you watching us hit on various platforms. We've got a few loyal supporters in the chat as usual. Thanks for taking the time to be with us on your Friday evening. You'll find a red subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Memberships are open if you choose to become a member. There's 3 types of membership there for you. Also, you can find us on XCOM Twitter. We've now changed the name at Spurs Diehards. I think I'll get the banner up if I've got it here somewhere. This is the banner you can go to on Spurs Diehards now, because that's changed. My name's been removed today, and we've changed some logos as well. our shows normally go out 3 times a week. Me and Ian have decided to make all the shows go out at 10 o'clock UK time, BST for now. At the moment, we're doing a Friday and a Tuesday show. We normally do Ian normally hosts a Sunday show, but as it's the transfer window and there isn't that much to talk about, even though, you know, you're never too far away from the club's next PR blunder, right, to talk about. If anything breaks, Ian will do a show Sunday and we get it up and going. If not, you can look forward to shows Tuesdays and Fridays until the season opens. It's not long now, you know, or when we're on pre-season, we'll be back to three shows a week, obviously, you know. Yeah, so we also have a Facebook group of 14,500 members. Like I said, there's 3,250 in the XCOM group. We have a page with 300 members roughly, but that's because the videos go out on the Facebook page. And
we're nominated, Adrian. We're nominated.
Oh yeah, I'll do that a bit. And we've got a WhatsApp group as well, which we mainly use as a sync to draw guests for shows on. And like anyone's welcome as long as they're like. We pride ourselves as being a mature and sensible group and produce giving you facts and quality content, right? So if we haven't got anything to give you, we're not going to do a show because it's just pointless. Right? We don't want to come on and waffle. So yeah, and also our friends at Spurs Kings, Ash and Marlin, they have put together a group of. There's so many Spurs podcasts out there, and what they've done basically. They put us all in various groups. We're in 2 groups for a bit of fun where you can go and vote for whoever you like. So if you like our content, I'll put the link up and you can go and vote. But don't just vote for us, you know. I mean, like, vote for this is the link, the forms, you go there. Vote for other groups that you'll see other groups you like there as well. I mean, I wanted to vote for more groups, but you know, I had to sort of like decide who I was going to vote for on all this list. But yeah, so it's a bit of fun. I think they're going to announce it, the winners in July. It's a bit of fun. So we're only a fledgling group. We'll see how we go. I have lobbied support in loads of groups that I've been in and people I know. So I just hope we're not disgraced as a fledgling group. I mean, when you've got the likes of Chris Cowley in the top 2 and they've got like 100,000 members, you know, I'm glad we're not in those groups because like there's some groups in there that are huge compared to us. We're quite small actually, but all votes help. I don't know if they're going to give a breakdown on the votes, what they're going to do or whatever, but no, fair play to them for doing this because it is a bit of fun. And maybe they'll obviously do a show. Maybe they'll do, I don't know, maybe they'll get the winners on. I don't know what other things they've got in mind, and they are an excellent show actually, Spurs Kings. So get over there and subscribe. They are good. The lads are good. I mean, Ash is excellent on tactics and that, and Marlon's an excellent host as well. Mm-hmm. You know, so yeah, they cover all things Tottenham, related. They're very good at Spurs Kings, very good. Right. Okay, so we'll. I think I've covered that. So get back to the banners and
just thanks for that comment, Milton. That's really appreciated. When people say that makes the work we do worthwhile.
Yeah, it does, because we do put a lot of work in and we are working very hard behind the scenes to push us to get us, you know, to progress. So, right. Anyone else want to talk about a Thomas Frank interview? I'll just get my take on it. I found it very refreshing. I think he'll be better to handle press conferences when things don't go his way, because I've seen him handle press conferences when they've lost to us and things like that. So he looks very adept. He's like a more PR than Ange was. Ange Bristol's at losses, but don't get me wrong, I don't want any manager of mine to be happy when we lose, right? So I'm sure we don't, right? So if they come out with some angst, then fair enough, because we know the reporters will ask them like loaded questions, right, to try and trick them and trip them up. You know, that will happen. So we're going to talk about a few people that have been a transfer. It bores me to hell, this transfer window. I've got to be honest. I think it's that's what I think it is, right? Latest transfer. Any of you guys,
sorry,
you heard of this?
I need to stop you, Adrian. Sorry, I know it's your show, not mine. But
go on.
No, not that one. Hang on, where's it
bring any comments up?
That one. Oh,
right.
what am I doing here? There you go. Nita, huge congratulations.
Oh, congratulations, Nita, to you.
Congratulations, yeah.
I adore the Caribbean and St. Lucia. Probably.
Oh, I love to go there.
Antigua. But I assume your ethnicity is Caribbean, so that's even nicer if it is. And
I love to watch cricket there.
I
what
look
a great
forward
stadium.
to the invitation so that I can go back. Although I am planning on going to Barbados in October, but yeah, I adore the Caribbean, and I think that's absolutely wonderful news. So there we go. There's an update on that. Congratulations to Soraya and David. Yeah, I love you. Congratulations, Soraya and David, from us all, I'm sure.
Right, sorry, we're moving to some latest transfer news. There are a few names that have cropped up. A lot of these can be taken with a pinch of salt. I look at like Spurs Insider and things like that, and Spurs Web and others like that. And occasionally they put something out that's worth me posting in all the groups that we've got going. And other times I just think, I'm not posting that because that's absolute rubbish, right? So, but I will post videos when players are linked. I mean, if stories gain gravitas or in there or there's hints they're going to gain gravitas, I will post videos everywhere for people to go and look at these players that we mentioned. So this guy's come up. Do you know him, Steve? You're American-based. Richard Rios, 25 DMCM Cam, Colombian. He's in Palmares.
Richard Rios, not off the top of my head now.
Right, fair enough. Okay. Well, he's a guy that's been linked with us. I watched a video of him. Yeah, I mean, do I think we're going for him? No. Although he's linked with us because they've got the media, all the low tier media, they've got nothing else. In some of the high tier media, they've got nothing better to do during the transfer window. So so none of you know about him. I think you'll probably know even less about this guy in France. Evan Gassin, 20-year-old striker, Ivory Coast, Nice. He's playing for Nice. I looked at him. I wasn't that impressed, actually. It's none of you know him, right? Okay, we'll move on. Here's another one you don't know. This guy's got a lot of pace, a lot of acceleration. We're linked with guys on this. I actually think we're going to keep. I actually believe because we're probably going to go strong on the right wing and say a midfield number 10 creator. I actually think Richarlison's staying, and I think we'll probably bring Lancashire in. I don't actually think we're going to go for a striker. What's your take on this, Alan? Do you think we're going to go for a striker or not, or concentrate elsewhere?
I think we need wingers. I think we need to replace Sonny. We need to replace the right. We need to look, I think, on the right wing. Thomas Frank seems to be very enamored with Dominic Solanke, so I don't know that we would go for a center forward. I think we would probably go for wings and in midfield. Again, I've said I've wanted to go for like a what's his name on Bayern Munich, the midfielder, Polina. Yeah. And I would like to get like an Mbeumo and both Wissa. I would like both Wissa and Mbeumo. I think Brentford's strikers are very good, and I don't see why we have to break up that duo.
The thing is, it's a bit like the the Bournemouth situation as well. If Kirkes is going and Semenyu's going and this player's going, they're not going to let all their players go in one hit. Once they've sold one, they don't need to sell at all. And if the other players are under contract, they're going to keep them. Same with Brentford. They're not going to get rid of Norgard, Damsgaard. They're not going to get rid of Wissa and Mbeumo. They'll probably sell one and the rest will be staying, won't they? I just don't see it happening personally. It's suicide, really. If they were to do that, it could virtually put them back in the Championship. Either Brentford or Bournemouth could find themselves back there. So I don't see that happen. What's your take, Steve? Where do you think they'll reinforce?
I think they're going to reinforce the entire across the entire attacking three. as we saw last year, especially in big matches, we were relying on a pair of 19 and 20-year-old wingers to carry the load of that attack, getting balls into the box, and I think that rawness of both Wilson Odebear and Matisse Tell. As talented of the prospects there are, what Tottenham actually need is leadership and experience at those positions. I think Dominic Solanke is very much going to benefit from the appointment of Thomas Frank. But what they really need are veteran wingers that have that Premier League experience or that Champions League experience to come in. Potentially take over starting positions, if not challenge Brendan Johnson on the right hand side. So the interesting thing is one of the things that I absolutely like. Now, here's the interesting thing, though, right? Because there is word that Tottenham already has a pivot if they can't land in Bemo, and the name Johan Bakayoko and I believe he's with PSV in the Eredivisie, and I think Thomas Frank tried to land him last year. But of course the two clubs agreed on a transfer deal, but they couldn't come to personal terms with Bakayoko. But now it's different with Tottenham Hotspur. And it would go to the central theme of what they're looking for in a young player. Pacey is very good on the ball, can deliver balls in the box. But that being said, of course, he's still young and doesn't have that Premier League experience. So if you want to go in that direction, but the idea of potentially a guy like Xavi Simons, who, by the way, is a natural 10, but played a lot on the right side as well too for Red Bull Leipzig. Would be an absolute coup if Tottenham were able to get it. But the interesting thing is what's going to end up happening on that left side, right? For me, that's more interesting than what's going to happen on the right side, because we're still undetermined of what's going to happen with Sonny. And then you look at the depth behind Sonny; it's young kids that are still learning to perform and play at the Premier League level, and so there's an obvious need on the left-hand side. But that being said, hopefully that answer is going to this answer is going to be resolved sometime soon. But at the striker position, there's obvious needs, because me personally, unlike you, Adrian, I actually think that Richarlison's value is better outside the club, and I think it opens up the door for better possibilities for somebody that's going to come in and challenge Dominic Solanke at that 9 position. And me personally, I just think with the health issues of Richarlison, especially when we're talking about Champions League football, they need somebody that's going to be dependable at that position.
Brad, Frank has praised Richarlison, and he also praised Basuma. That worried me. Right? So do you think that means? I mean, Richarlison wants the World Cup next year. He's got 2 years left on his contract. He can dig his heels in and say, "I ain't going anywhere."
Well, if you'd have asked me the players to sell a few months ago, I'd have said Richarlison and Basuma. Richarlison injured all the time. Basuma wasn't performing. That said, Basuma was actually brilliant in the knockout stage of the Europa League. But I always thought with him, there's that chance he might do something silly. And I don't think you can have that in a club. If there's some other striker out there, then get the money in for Richarlison. It might work if you get a couple of wingers in the transfer window. It might work best for Richarlison. Who knows? I just sort of think I get really bored in the transfer window when they're talking about potential. Oh, we're going to play this young player or that young player or this young player. We've done that. We're there. We've done that. We've earned the money. Now we should be going for players that have got experience and they've done it. Players like Eze, Semeno, whatever his name is, but I can't even say Bamuma.
Mbeumo, yeah.
I can't even say when I'm sober. They don't know who it is, right? But we need to be going for these players. I'm fed up of hearing, we're interested in this 19-year-old who's going to be the next big thing. No. We've got players in our club at the moment that are going to be the next big thing. Let's get experienced players in. People talked about and I'm nicking this off Ali Gold, I have to say, about when, you don't win the league with kids, and they also, the Man United team that won with Beckham, blah, 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 blah. They've still had really top experienced players playing alongside Beckham and Scholes and all these sort of players. and that's what we need. And I don't think we'll be serious about winning the league or Champions League or whatever it might be until we get these top class proven players in. We used to do it in the past. We used to bother Jimmy Greaves, Martin Chivers, Martin Peters, Paul Gascoigne, Chris Waddle. We've done it in the past. We need to do it again if we're going to get anywhere. This is what big clubs do. This is what big clubs do. We want to be a big club. Okay, as far as Tottenham Hotspur are concerned around the world and support base, yeah, we are a big club. But we want to prove it on the pitch now. We want to be a big club.
You do get the old young player that I would take. I mean, if it was Xavi Simons, who's 23, or if it was Nico Williams, I'm sure you'd take them. They are exceptions to the rule.
What's his name at Barcelona?
Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, of course you'd take him. Of course you would. But we are playing. Oh, this guy could have potential. This is the Irish guy. This is the next Wayne Rooney. Blah 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 blah. Never happened. So and I'm happy. I'm really happy with the young players we got now. Archie Gray, I think, could be a great player. Bergwall's going to be a brilliant player. And I'm happy with who we've got now. But yeah, now's the time to get experienced players in there. And said that he gets football. I think Thomas Frank probably knows that as well. So let's see.
Ian, I mean, I'm sure we'd all take Eze. He's got the experience. But if for some reason there was an issue with the 68 mil payment, I mean, I like Xavi Simons. I mean, would you take a Xavi Simons instead? I mean, he's not Premier League proven as Eze is. That's the attraction with Eze. One, he's a great player.
Exactly, he's done it. He's done it.
Homegrown.
Yeah. I don't know as much about him as some do. I don't watch as much European football as maybe I should when we're commenting on it and things like this. I was interested in Daniel's comments about Calimundo though, and Rios. What I'm really interested in is where Thomas Frank thinks, and this is what we don't know. Where does he think we need to?
Well, he liked Bakayoko, right? He liked him, and we know. And the thing that's like thrown us all a curveball now as our manager, he would have been planning ahead with Brentford, so he would have had a few players in mind. No player gets who they want, but I mean, normally when they come at the club, they might get one or two. I mean, like the fact that you can't say Ange spent 400 million on players because that's just rubbish, right? It doesn't work that way. It's always a team. It's always a team.
Well, let me talk about where I see the team at the moment. This is presupposing, I suppose, players don't leave, which they undoubtedly will. I mean, there's been talk this week that Milan, I think it is, have come in for Vicario. Vicario's not a hill I would die on. I know he's made some astonishing saves at crucial times in matches. But he's also, we all talk about that wonderful save on the line from Mickey van der Ven. But the only reason he got a chance to get it or to make that save was that Vicario dropped the most simple of crosses. And he does that. So will Thomas Frank feel he needs a better goalkeeper? There's already talk that Kinski would be more his type of goalkeeper than Vicario, but he's not as good a shot stopper as Vicario, but he's better at his feet. And if you remember, David Reyes was a goalkeeper we were linked with before he went to Arsenal, and we picked up Vicario, and there was views we'd got the better goalkeeper. Not sure about that, but Reyes is very good with his feet, so. I think that's a position we may be looking at in the summer. There's talk about Carl Walker-Peters. So that would give us... He mentioned Udogie, but he didn't mention Porro, but I assume Porro's pretty crucial.
He loves Porro. He's talked about he's being Trent Alexander.
So if we got Carl Walker-Peters, if we got Porro, if we've got Udogie and we've got Spence, I don't see him making any changes there. In defence, you've got Romero, you've got Van der Ven, you've got Dragusin, you've got Danso, and you've still got we've still got Davis, You've got the possibility, we don't know what his plans are for Dorrington and Phillips.
And
Assuming
Vasquez.
Romero stays, I don't see that being a position that's going to worry him either. He talked about Bentancur, he talked about Bergvall. Will he see Bergvall and Bentancur? And I think he knows that they can. Well, Bergvall's been exceptional, but Bentancur can offer so much more. Would he see those as his twin pivots? If he's going to, assuming he's going to play the 4-2-3-1, would he see those as his two pivots? And then who would be his alternates? Would it be Gray, Sarr, Bissouma? He mentioned Bissouma. Would he see Gray and Bissouma as his alternates? So, and then we go to the 3-1. Now, I mentioned Solanke, but I desperately think we're going to need a new number 9. Alongside Solanke, I don't think Richarlison is anywhere near good enough. And although he's liked Richarlison in the past, there must be a view that his injury proneness is absolutely no use if we're mounting challenges and playing on four competitions. His body just can't take it.
No.
And then you say Lancashire, but I don't think Lancashire's at that anywhere near that level yet. So I would expect us to be signing another centre forward. We've got Tell, he's got Johnson and Kulusevski and Maddison. Quite often Johnson has played more central. Would he see Johnson playing more centrally in a 10 role? I mean, I don't know, but I do think those two wide positions with pace and power and goals from an Eze and an Mbeumo, I think could be crucial going forward. And the positions I expect us to be prioritising changing would be goalkeeper, not necessarily the 6. The 10, the two wide players and the centre forward, and whether that's squad players, whether that's proper backup players, competition for places, those are the areas I think he's going to be most interested in changing. But I think inside track, no.
Yeah, I think what a lot of Spurs fans will be pleased is their nervous systems won't be shredded so much by seeing us playing faffing about at the back.
Oh, absolutely.
It doesn't play that way. I mean, basically, for those that don't know, and I've only just learnt this watching the videos recently, right? Because I've got time to go and watch these, right? He plays with a narrow midfield pivot, which would suit Bentancur and another. Actually, it suit Bentancur and Bergvall, or Bentancur and even Sarr, actually. And then usually his 10 is usually hard working. So you might see that Maddison's well challenged by Kulu in that position.
Yep.
When the goalkeeper kicks the ball, when the goalkeeper kicks the ball out, when he gets them to kick it out, normally the narrow midfield pivot come back to make a 4 block really with the 2 centre backs, and he tries to give it to one of the midfield pivot. If it's the left-sided one, then the ball goes straight out to the left back, or to the left winger if he's dropped, and the same on the right side. And he tries to get, rather than a 2-man overload against players, if you're going up the left-hand side, say it's you, Doggy, Maddison's on the left, and say Son's there, just an example, we don't know what's happening like. He tries to get, they're closer together, and he tries to get a 3-man overload going on the right. And he'll do the same on the right, which usually means that the opposite fullback drops back to become another centre back, a bit like Mourinho did. So you've got 3 at the back as well. Front's variable. He'll love Solanke, because like a lot of the strikers we've been listening to, none of them play other players in. Solanke's very good at doing that. He's better than Tony was for doing that, even at Brentford, right?
But he can't
Tony
play every game, Adrian.
No, he can't. This is the thing, you see. When people start thinking about new players, we've got a minimum of 48 games, haven't we? We've got 38 league games, 8 Champions League games. Hopefully we'll progress, 2 domestic cup games. That's 48 games. I mean, the only 2 players that got were forced to work their socks off, really. Actually, Porro played over 4,000 minutes, 50 games, I think it was. And Decky played 40 and was running through treacle. And Decky done more running than sprinting. If you go look at his stats, no wonder he was knackered. And he just started to show a bit of form coming back, and then he got injured for being overplayed. But that's what done us apart from the injuries as well. It wasn't just the injuries. The injuries meant players that were overplayed as well, which didn't help, so they suffered before. Anyway, we passed that point. You're going to see a more disciplined, team ethic you're going to see players given specific roles under Frank. I
Yeah.
mean, he's a workaholic on stats and all that, and I'm liking everything I'm finding about him. I'm liking, I mean, like, so I'm sure you will as well. But I did send you out some tactic videos, so go and look at them when you have a chance, and you'll see there are others out there that vary a bit differently as well. But
and this is why I think we have to be patient, because these players are going to have to learn a heck of a lot in a short space of time, which they haven't been over the last few years. So.
I really don't think so, Brad, because
Really?
we've seen what we can do with a midfield pivot anyway. Away to Brentford, we won 2-0. Away to West Ham, we stunk the place out. Away to Bodo Glimt, away to Frankfurt, and then away to Man United. We've actually played defensively with a midfield pivot. We can do that.
But he changes tactics.
Yeah, but
in a game, he changes tactics depending on who we're playing.
He does. He has been. He's mainly 4-3-3, or you can say that's a 4-3.
Yeah.
You could say that 3 is actually a 4-2-1. Like, you know what I mean? Like, 4-2. 4-2-3-1. You could say is he does that, but he does at times if things don't work. It's no great plan B. He'll just switch during a game. He'll just switch to a back 3. He will switch to a back 3.
But the players have got to know this. They've got to know this. They've got to know that when the coach shouts at us, we're going to do this now, they have to know what to do. And this is going to take time. That's all I'm saying. It's going to take time.
And I think it's also worth mentioning that Thomas Frank isn't tactically married to one style of football.
No, exactly.
What's interesting, as I was going over this yesterday, the two primary formations that he likes to run with is a 4-3-3 and a 3-5-2. And the interesting thing is, like, okay, cool. So if those are the, he's flexible depending on the opponent. But the interesting thing is, like, which of that is actually suits the talent that are on this team. Because if you ask me, there's a few players that are tactically flexible and playing multiple different positions, right? So to me, I actually think this is actually a very good marriage, because I think our squad actually fits them. The question is how going forward, which formation is going to be mutually beneficial? Is it a 3-5-2 when you can have Slinky and maybe Son playing that false 9 inside forward, and you can allow Dominic Slinky just to be a natural pitcher, or is it going to be a 4-3-3 with 2 high attacking 10s? You know what I mean? That somewhat mirrors what we saw last year. But that being said, they're going to be a little bit more narrow instead of hugging the touchline, right? So there's going to be multiple ways that the Spurs are going to attack different teams. But what I like about it is week to week, depending on the opponent, there's going to be something new. There's going to be something new and different. Just saying.
No, you're right. But this is what I'm saying. Our players have got to learn that over the season, so it's that's why I'm saying we got to be patient with this team.
I'm going to come in, Adrian. It's coming up 1:30 here, so it's actually 11:30.
Could be worried there for a minute. I'm looking at the clock. Really?
It's 12:30, but I'm done. I will going to bow out there. Just say thanks, Steve, Alan, Brad. And of course you, Adrian, for hosting tonight. Everybody in the chat, been some great stuff there, particularly on the players. And if anything dramatic happens, we'll go live on Sunday. But realistically, I think we'll be Tuesday. It will be Tuesday night, Adrian.
Well, you can host the first hour Tuesday then, and I'll take on if you've got.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm good for that. Right, everybody, take care. See you all on
Sunday. Take care.
Thanks, Ian.
Right. This is what I was going to bring up. Well, we'll get back on the banners for you guys. Right.
I'm looking forward to a
change, guys. What do you think?
Fixtures. Woo.
I've only done the first, I think, 2 months here. One I couldn't cram any more in anyway, because you only allowed 200 characters. But these are subject to change because of cup draws and Sky screwing over fans as usual. One good thing about a list though is we're not away over the Christmas period. We're at home.
Mm-hmm.
But two of the fixtures are a disgrace because we play Newcastle both times at 8 o'clock home and away or something, midweek away. I mean, for fans to travel that, I mean, come on. That's a piss take, isn't it? It's always the same every year. But Steve, what's your take on this list? Do you think we got a good start to the season? There's no easy games, but I mean, it could have been a lot worse, I suppose.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. When I look at the start, I see at least 16 to 18 points through the start. This is like the best situation that could have happened, because I do believe there's going to be a new manager bounce. But that being said, even Manchester City away in the second, the second game of the season, I still don't see this being a problem for Spurs. And the interesting thing is you get Burnley, Bournemouth, and Wolves at home, and Spurs' ability to go to West Ham and get a result. I like that. And the only one that may or may not be an issue is going to be Brighton away. But that being said, this is I look at the start of the schedule where I can easily see 18 points through these first fixtures. And that's like, maybe you call me delusional, call me what you will, but I look at the talent that we have, the talent that I know we're going to get, and I again, call me delusional, but I think the team is already tight after winning the Europa League last year. I think there's a lot of togetherness with this team. I think this team is confident going into it, and I just look at this as like the best possible case for Tottenham, starting off with Burnley. But you really do not have a team in there that necessarily scares me. There's no Liverpool, there's no Arsenal to start the season, and so this is an opportunity where Spurs, just like Ange Postecoglou in his first season, can bank a good solid point haul at the start of the season.
Alan, do you share Steve's confidence that we'll have the league wrapped up by Christmas?
Tell me yes, buddy. Tell me yes. I didn't say that.
It's a lot of ifs to get there, but I do think we have a pretty good schedule. I think, as far as other clubs, I think Arsenal has a tougher schedule to start off with. Yeah. They have one of the toughest, I think. Burnley, again, the newly promoted team. We never know how that's going to turn out, but my guess is we probably in our favor. Manchester City is a team that we know how to beat, and they all they know how to lose to us like we know how to beat them. Bournemouth is a team that's getting cherry picked, but they're getting cherry picked right now, and so. And West Ham, again, a team, all of a sudden we're linked with Kudus. I don't know how real that is, but we're, I don't know what that team is going to look like after August. Brighton is a pretty good team, and Wolves are a team that just lost Cunha. They'll probably lose a couple of other players. So again, I don't know. I'm not nervous about this. I feel pretty good about this first six. For sure.
Brad?
Yeah, I don't think we could have really complained about the opening fixtures of the season. I actually thought I wanted a promoted team for our first game at home, and we got one. And apparently it's the first time since 2010/11 season that we've got a home game for the first game of the season and a home game for the last game of the season. So I'm happy with that. Yeah, Arsenal, the guy who sits next to me at work was really moaning about the Arsenal fixtures. They got some really tough games. But at the end of the day, you got to play every team, So, but yeah, it'll give us a chance to get a bit of momentum. I always think that we should win our home games. And if you look at, we've got Burnley, Bournemouth, Wolves, we should be winning those games. If we're going to try and achieve anything, Man City, we've done well there, but I'd take a point right now. West Ham, yeah, we owe them something. Brighton, that'll be tough, but yeah, I'm happy with that. And I know that in November it gets really, really difficult.
Yeah.
But
that's exactly right. That's where the schedule turns in November.
But we got a chance to get a bit of momentum under the new regime, blah blah blah. So I'm happy with that. Yes.
Let's talk about some players' futures, Alan. Son has been much in the media, hasn't he? Because it's a question of giving a guy a respected side what you do. I've always been a very selfish fan. Even when Kane was here, I didn't want to sell him. Not because it wasn't the right thing to do commercially. It was. When you look at that way, I'm just selfish. I just want to see the best players play at this club all the time. So from my personal view, that was just a selfish point of view, although it made commercial sense at the time. If he'd stayed, we'd have probably got Champions League because we finished 5th, and then we wouldn't have won the Europa League. So,
Yep.
so I'd fall flat on my face on that one, looking back now, the hindsight. But Sonny is interesting to me because, like, you get so many fans that will turn and say, he's gone, he's shot. He's not shot. He's lost the afterburns. I see it against Villa. I see it when he did that rampaging run against Everton, when he's running parallel with VDV and he ends up, like, making a goal or scoring a goal. I see him against Villa away in the away games when he tends to shine. He gets that bit more space when he outstripped Cameron, he outstripped Matty Cash with the ball. And they struggle to even keep up with him when he had the ball. So I know he's 33, so I get the angle. He's going to be 33 shortly. But he's an experienced player to have when you go into a Champions League. And especially at this moment, the reason I'm hesitant now is because we don't know what the shape of the squad's going to be by the time he comes back from the Korean tour, which he's definitely going on. Nothing's happening before then because, we don't want to riot in Korea, do we? So,
he's the tour. Yeah,
but we got Yang Min Hook. We got our Korean contingent already, so it's.
But I mean, if I was Son, I would probably leave. And go out on a high. I think at Tottenham, the players tend to stay. I mean, Ben Davies is still here. I know he's a servant to the club, but he's still here, and we have a difficulty letting players go for the sake of nostalgia or feeling like there's the sense of loyalty. I mean, they're very highly compensated people, and they only deserve to be there if they want to stay. And I think maybe he wants to stay, but and I know there are people that say he deserves an opportunity to go on a free so that he could go anywhere. And and to a certain extent, I agree with that. It's just the stars didn't align for that to happen. If this was the season that Sonny could leave on a free, if this transfer window, I would say definitely, and I think everyone would agree. I think the only reason why not everybody agrees is because we're looking for some sort of leadership. But truly, I don't know that Sonny was the right kind of leader to begin with. That's my personal opinion is that Sonny isn't a team captain so much, but a very good servant for the club, and a real draw not only for the club but for tourism reasons and whatnot. But I think that we just won Europa League. Let him leave on a high. He's not going to make any. I don't see us winning Champions League, and I'm sorry, Daniel Levy. I know I may be making your life more difficult, but I don't know that we're going to win the Premier League or the Champions League this season. And so I feel like any memory we create this season for Sonny would diminish slightly what he just earned in Europa League win. So
only if we didn't win something this season.
But even if, let's say, we won a cup, I don't know that the Carabao Cup would be enough to keep Sonny, considering all the other times where we kind of said to ourselves, "Look, Sonny has lost a step or two, and for every game that he played well, there were probably more that he didn't play so well." And that's just age. I don't want to come down on him too hard for something he has virtually no control over.
Numbers were good. The eye test, he didn't look good. I watched all the games.
On the eye test, he wasn't.
His numbers were good for a winger. His numbers were good.
But I think we can this season, because he is a champion now. His stock isn't going to get any higher than it is right now, and I would rather sell him on a high and give him an opportunity to spread his wings somewhere else. He's been with the club a long time as well. And give him an opportunity to find himself somewhere else, to sort of maybe to start sunsetting and upgrade on a player that to bring in who may be a bit younger, hopefully a bit younger, and with at least as much talent as Sonny to take us into the next stage, into, as Daniel Levy wants, Champions League football, most likely consistently. We need to upgrade on our players.
Steve, there are at least three Saudi clubs interested in paying 25 to 30 mil for Son.
Yep.
There's been other rumours he could end up in the MLS, but they're not going to pay transfer money for him. Not that sort of money for a player.
Yeah.
So,
Major League Soccer wouldn't pay anything more than 30 mil.
If he decides to go, it looks like it'll be Saudi. He doesn't need the money, does he? He's sponsored by every South Korean company there is on the planet, basically, isn't he? Like, you know? And he's never chased the money. And now he's got the trophy. He might think, good job done, I'll move. Or he might think, I've got all the money I want. This is Champions League. You never know. I want to give it a crack.
I think the interesting thing, though, is that there's an old saying here in the United States, and it's best to get rid of a player, especially franchise player that are in the twilights of their career. It's best to get rid of a player 1 year early before it's 1 year too late. And essentially that means is if you have an opportunity to capitalize on his name for the club, and you mentioned those Saudi teams, and I've heard numbers, of 60 million pounds or higher. And if you're able to get a transfer for Sonny into the Saudi Pro League, and the club is willing to get that type of money, then of course you're going to make that move. The question is whether Sonny would like to go to Saudi Arabia. The interesting thing, this is a World Cup year. World Cup 2026 is just around the corner, and you wonder if there's any interest from Sonny to maintain the status quo so he can prepare for the 2026 World Cup. And obviously it would be advantageous for him to stay at Spurs. But that being said, the interesting thing about it is I think this is an opportunity for Sonny to cash in on his name. You're absolutely right. He hasn't necessarily chased money, but he's 33 years old. He may have 3 or 4 more years left playing football. You go to Saudi Arabia for a couple of years, you make $30 million a season, you leave on a free, and you finish your career in South Korea, and you call it a wrap. I think this is an opportunity for Sonny to not only make money, but also to continue to start. I don't know how you guys feel about him. I don't necessarily look at Sonny as a starting caliber left wing anymore. And I think he would be a parody of himself if he stayed at Spurs and he ended up being like the first man off the bench to play 20 minutes, to close out a game where he's not necessarily the guy anymore. He's not necessarily the franchise face anymore. And it would be advantageous for both parties to call the good. He's already executed the mission. He stayed when Harry Kane left. He stayed when all of these other big names left to chase trophies. He's the one guy that stayed because he was loyal to Spurs. He wanted to win that trophy. Okay, mission accomplished. And at this stage, if you can sell high on Sonny as a club, it would be mutually advantageous because the Spurs do need to augment their transfer budget. And if you can get a very good price for Sonny, you make that move. And I think it would be beneficial for him as well going to the Saudi Pro League because he'll start. And granted, that league is not on par with some of Europe's better leagues, but he's still going to be able to start. He'll still play for the South Korean national team, and I think that would be good. But of those names that you put out there, Adrian, there's only one that Spurs should keep 100%, and that's Christian Romero. 100% Christian Romero should be staying. But Sonny, Richarlison, Basuma, Solomon, and Veliz, it's an opportunity for Spurs to cash in and really make their transfer budget a number where they can actually go and make this team worthy of competing in the Champions League. This is an opportunity that Spurs need to grab a hold of because if Levy and company are not going to add to the transfer budget with their own money, then this is an opportunity to rid this team of fringe first team players that don't have a future, and you're going to be able to get good money for those guys and bring in players that number one want to be here. But also work well with the players that are already in place. I just think that as far as Sonny, as much as I love him and as much as I respect him for doing the hard thing, which is staying when it didn't look like we were going to win a trophy. That being said, it's if you can get 60 million pounds from Saudi Arabia, you take that deal 100% of the time.
Brad, I mean, Frank's obviously got to sit down and talk with Sonny because he is the subject of much conjecture at the moment out there. When I've actually watched Frank's videos recently, Sonny really isn't his type of player on the left, not because he isn't quality and probably the best finisher in our club with both feet, but it's because if you watch his left wingers, they're very physical and hardworking. And Sonny just sort of lacks that bit of aggression. So I do wonder. We don't know what's going to happen. We're in unknown territory here with him.
Can I just say that I've got rid of the biggest flying beetle I've ever seen. It was massive. It was drinking my beer. I managed to get it and throw it out the window, so it's gone.
Did you get to spit it out? Did you get him to spit it out?
No, the beetle's alive. It's out there somewhere. Anyway, no, I think with Son, if you're at the stadium when the last game of the season, he went round the whole stadium on his own, applauding. Now you can read that any way you want. You can say, "Oh, thank you, fans. What a great! You're all brilliant," or "Thank you, fans. I'm off." I don't know. I think he's a player that, he's lost a lot of pace. Of course he has. He's 33, whatever. I still think he gives us something. So I really hope he stays, but I don't think he'll go. I really don't think he'll go to Saturday. I've never got the impression that money is a big thing for him. So I don't think he's going to leave our club to go to the Saturday for the money. I don't know how Thomas Frank will see him. I really don't. Is he a Thomas Frank player? I don't know. But he's a class player. He's one world-class players we've got in the club at the moment.
I could see him under Frank in a 3-5-2, playing off the striker.
Yeah.
More than playing on the wing.
Him and Romero, the two players we've got that are you could argue, are world-class. I don't know.
I don't think Frank, with us fans, I actually don't think, look, if he stays, fans aren't going to be upset. If he goes, fans aren't going to be upset. We'll get some money for him. I think it's one of those because he's given such service to the club, and it's not a question of being sentimental because he's not finished.
Yeah.
We know he's in the twilight of his career.
Yeah,
but he's still got a lot to give. He's played the last couple of seasons carrying injuries, So yeah,
we're going to miss out on these lovely South Korean women as well, So, but and then that aside, the other players on your list, Richarlison, I think I said earlier, injury prone. You probably want to sell him for that reason. If you got another striker that can't come in, who would other players on there? Valise, well, what's he ever done for Tottenham? I don't even
looks like he'll go back to Rosario.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I personally, with him, people say sell. I always got calm yourself, right? At the moment, his value's gone down since we bought him.
Yeah.
At least if he goes out on loan, you're only paying his wages. If he does well, his value will go up and we'll get a bit more back for him. You've got to think these things through when you decide you want to get rid of a player.
As far as Solomon's concerned, obviously if Thomas Frank likes him, he's going to see him in pre-season, fair enough. But I think that we've got so many wingers at this club and we're interested in so many wingers. And we know that we can probably get a bit of money for Solomon.
Yeah.
He's played well for Leeds. He had a great season with Leeds. He probably might want to stay with Leeds. So in that respect, I think,
Frank might look at him and think he's the best thing since sliced bread. You never know. But the point is, we're all looking and thinking where are you going to fit him in? We've got so many wingers. Where are you going to fit him in?
We've got so many
another foreign player.
We're looking at other wingers as well. We're looking at other wingers. So it's and again, a great season in the Championship. It's a different league in the Premiership. It really is. So, although ironically, if he stayed at Leeds, he'd be playing in Premiership anyway. But
they could take him on tour and have a look at him if he does something breathtaking.
Exactly.
He might think we'll keep him, and he might save us money. But he's got we don't want 20 goal contributions last year for Leeds.
We don't want players that save us money at the club. We will never be a big club if that's
if he's kept, he wants to be kept because he's seen he's got enough qualities in him.
Yeah,
that Frank thinks he will help us. He'll improve us.
Exactly, and he's a good player for us. Brilliant, I love that. But
if not,
don't keep him because we don't want to pay 80 million for that winger because we got one here that's free. That's why we've never progressed as a club.
Correct.
And it's annoying. It's really annoying.
We do. We need to keep upgrading.
Any of you guys on this one, what's your take on Basuma? I'll give you mine. I'm done with him. I mean, like, I don't care if he's had this sudden peak of form towards the end of the season, which helped us get through and win the Europa League. Thank you for that. Thank you for your service. I don't want you because I don't know. It's something about his concentration, the party animal. I mean, even Conte said it about it. He just when he can be very, very good on his day, he's just not consistent enough for me. And we can't get emo over him, right? To me, he's got to go. But we'll see. We'll see if Frank gets it soon out of him.
If you could have the Basuma that played in the knockout stages of Champions of the Europa League, keep him. But there's no guarantee. No guarantee in the world.
He's never going to do that, though. He's never done it.
So,
because the reality is Basuma has only has shown us in a small sample that he can be responsible and play a game of football. Through his entire Spurs career, he's been absolutely shambolic. And there was a stretch this last season where he was unbelievably unplayable. He just could not be on the field. And Ange Postecoglou didn't even bother when he when he heavily rotated in the league. He never even made the match day squad, let alone coming off the bench because he was just so dreadful. But that being said, he still has a market value. There are teams that absolutely like him. And me personally, I just feel like a change of scenery for Basuma is probably in order here right now. And it's like, and it's, for me, it's the same thing with Basuma with Solomon. It's like, do you want to keep him and risk it? Or would you rather take the $20 million that you're going to get for him on the open market? And you're probably going to sell him at a loss. But that being said, it is what it is. And again, it's all about the mentality, right? Moving with, moving with ambition, moving with intent, right? Moving with intent is not keeping players that you can't trust. Versus a player that's coming from outside the club, but at the very least, he's going to have a track record of being able to show up week in and week out, and that's the problem, right? That's my biggest problem. He's an irresponsible individual. He's not mature enough to handle the situation, and me personally, his personal life bleeds into his professional life. I'm sorry, I'm out.
Right, I'm going to come on to this because this is the issue. This is why. Let me find the banner. This is why they got to sit down with these sit down because it's squad. We've got about 29 players at the moment. I'm going to get a list up in a minute. Right. This is 29 forward slash at the bottom, right? If you're keeping, and we're in Europe, right, and we've got an issue with foreign quota players anyway. I mean, you can only have 17 in the Premier League. At the moment, we had 23 players in the Europa League last year, which isn't awful because, if you put out 2 first 11s, it's 22, and you got the third goalkeeper, it's 23. Plus, you got players on the B list, so you can still make the numbers up. But when you talk about, the problem is if you're bringing foreign players in, they want to be guaranteed to go in the Champions League squad. And last year, because Dragonson was injured, Werner was going, right, and Kinski was left out because we brought in Tel, Danso, and came in as well. We brought Tel, Danso in. We brought another outfield player in. Was it Hodebert? We brought 3 in to leave those 3 out, and Dragonson was left out because he's injured. Now, players are going to be peed off if they're not included in this Champions League squad when it gets sorted out. I mean, we might have to bring Carl Walker-Peters back to make sure we've got a squad of 23 again. We only got 22, and you're losing the foreign player each time. I mean, here you got Venom, Kinski foreign, Udogi, VDV, Kuti 5, Vuskovic 6, Denso 7, Dragosin 8, Poro 9, so I'm not sure 10, Lolo 12, Bergvall 13, Kulu 14, Son 15, Odebert 16.
You look at that list there, you think Scarlett Moore,
Dorrington 17, Richie 18.
They're not Champions League players. I'm sorry.
No. And out of them 18 at the moment, we could only have if you allowed 17 and with 3 down, you could only have 14. So 4 of them would have to go out that squad before we even bring any foreign players in. But then you'd have to lose another one out of here because any foreign player coming in is going to want guaranteed to be in that in his contract that he's going to play Champions League football. And the club are at fault here for getting us in this mess in the first place, right? The club are at fault, you know. I mean, we could have kept Whiteman, but you know, we could get Walker Peters in. You could go and get Dennis Sirkin of Sunderland. You know, we could have got Marcus Edwards back from Sporting before we went to Burnley. Right, they're about the only ones, and then we'd probably have enough. But this is an issue they're going to see out. I mean, we're going to have to see, and I think they'll leave the younger players out. I think Kingsley will get left out again. You know, and we don't know if that means, we won't be able to bring Vuskovic into the Champions League squad this season, you know, even if he smashes it pre-season or whatever. So
I feel these players might not be here anyway. Donnelly might go on loan again. I think it's a shame that...
but Donnelly's English, so it doesn't matter. I mean, Moore is as well. He'll sign a new contract in August when he's 18.
Donnelly might go to the Championship side, which is great.
Yeah, I think
Divine
will go out on loan again.
Yeah.
I think the one who's really got a chance of, if he can show what he's shown wherever he's been, is Vuskovic, could make the squad. I'd like to see Donnelly come into the squad, which he could do, because I don't think that would affect us at all, you know. And so
let's see what they do on the pre-season tour. That's what they got to impress the new manager, is it, effectively?
And I've left Lancashire out of here as well, haven't I? Well, I think.
I think Scarlett, Moore, Donnelly, Divine, Dorrington, potentially could be good players, but are they Champions League footballers? No, they're not. They've done well in the. I mean, Donnelly's actually had a brilliant season at Leyton Orient.
This is where Frank's going to have a lot of thinking to do, Alan, isn't he? Because if you want to bring in any foreign players, and I'll put it to you and Steve here. I mean, he's going to have to trim this squad. I mean, all right, the youngsters you could take out, right, and loan them all out, right. But Frank's still going to have to make some hard choices here. And don't get me wrong, I think he'll get it right. And some players might have their feathers ruffled, and if they don't like it, listen, if you got the don't want to play for my club, get out anyway. It's my opinion, right? So,
would people like Eze help that because he's homegrown?
No, he's not homegrown with us.
Not with Tottenham, but he's
okay.
He's still considered a homegrown player because he's English developed.
Right. With the B list, you can have as many on the B list as you want, as long as they've been with the academy for 2 years. I think it's between the ages of 15 and 21. Right. So the B list, you only have to put the B list up 24 hours before a European game, and you can change it. That's not a problem. The problem is you've got to have 4 out of your 8 homegrown have got to be academy trained for 3 years, right?
What is the number?
Academy trained?
So what is the number on the Champions League roster regulations? What is the number discrepancy between homegrown players and academy players? Right? What numbers have to be on that roster as far as the match day roster?
It has to be 3 years homegrown, right? Okay. Which is with the academy. That is not loaned out.
So Dan's homegrown, isn't he? Apparently.
Yeah, because homegrown would be homegrown would be English club trained. Right? So
cannot go on the list because they're under 21. Simply because they haven't been with the academy. So Bergvall and Gray can't go on the B list.
I know more about quantum mechanics than about this.
That's a very good take there, Alan. Kyle Walker-Peters. That's where Kyle Walker-Peters comes into play. Very good.
If Walker Peters comes in, he's on a free at the end of July when his contract's up. I think he's on a free. He'd love to come back to the club.
On a free.
Then we'll be back to 23 like we were last year. So we'd have 15. We can then have 15 foreign players. I don't know what players Frank's going to leave out, but he's going to have to make a hard choice, and it might influence what we do in the transfer window. You know, because if you've got to leave a foreign player out, and suddenly Eze's looking a more attractive prospect because he'll add to the squad without being that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's only 8 homegrown. You can have more, right? But
the foreign player you can leave off,
and we can dip into the under 21s. It's not like we'd be short of players. It's just awkward regarding the foreign quota.
It's the Champions League.
Steve's right. It could be Dragishin.
Yeah, it could be Dragishin, right?
The Premier League, we're pretty okay. It's only the Champions League.
Yeah, no problem with the Premier League, none whatsoever.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
We had him before back in the day with Dyer because he did his training in Portugal, and Davies because he was Welsh.
Yeah,
But I think we passed that. I mean, we're just going to have to tough it out for this year, possibly next. I'm not sure if any of the players.
This is why Ezzy's a no-brainer, isn't it? Really, he
Davis isn't on this list, is he?
He's a no-brainer if you're bringing in an English player, a homegrown British player, rather than a foreign player. The issue is if we bring in foreign players in, if we want, Xavi Simons, or we go for a Jamie Gittins or a Nico Williams, dream on, everyone, right? If we went for those, even Semenyo and Buemo as well, they also add to the foreign quota problem.
Well, if you ask me,
and Buemo's not coming in unless
Mark Gahey probably comes into play too.
That's the lure of getting them in, isn't it?
But if you said to me you can have one of those players, it'd be Ezzy every day of the week for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be Ezzy and Mark Gahey, 100%.
Yeah, it's like, but it's not our problem.
I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
What is the plan for Vuskovic coming in this summer? Just out of curiosity, I know this is a little off topic.
Because we bought him from Hajduk Split for about 12 mil as a 16-year-old. That's unheard of, right? He went out to play and he smashed it at Hajduk Split. He's now played first-class game for his country, Croatia. He went to the Polish side. He smashed it there. He's gone to Westerlo with Divine. He smashed it there, 7 goals and whatever. I mean, there's been questions about he reckons he's probably not necessarily the quickest. He's just so mature for his age when you watch him. Go and watch a video of him. I mean, and he's also got a nice little side slip past the player move as well on him. Gets in the area. Have you seen his bicycle kick? He scored an opposing centre back. Scored a bicycle kick, right? And he just looks like. Sometimes you just get a player, they're a generation talent, they're just there and they know it and they got the IQ and everything else, like Yamal as at Barcelona. And to me, I look at him, I haven't seen, and it's hard sometimes to judge defenders than it is strikers or midfielders because they're not as sexy. So you've got to look at their positional play, their tackling, their heading, things like that, because it's not the sexiest pass at the game. But for his age, he's the best I've seen at his age. The best. But that's only my opinion. I'm not a football expert, but I've watched loads of videos.
Well, he likes the what's the other guy from Croatia, Guardiola, who plays for Man City.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says he's really impressed by him and that's his influence. Blah blah blah. So. If he's
we had Nico Kranjčar as well, Perisic, didn't we? So
no, yeah. So he's the same. If for the Pulisic is the same as Guardiola, well then we've got a good player.
Yeah, there are comparisons with Guardiola, as well. But he's no slouch either. It's like the young centre backs like Phillips, Dorrington, and him. Dorrington's better on the ball than Phillips is, but Phillips. They're all built like, their mums must have put them in grow bags. They're all 6'4".
But you do wonder what the future holds for people like Dorrington and Phillips when we've got a load of centre backs and Vuskovic as well.
This is one thing where our new manager.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
He's worked with he worked through the Danish under 21s and all. He's worked a lot. He's worked a lot with young players. And part of the reason when people say Johan Langer's going, he's going nowhere, right?
I don't think he is, no.
Him and Frank were coaches at a Danish club, Dingby, not Bromby. I know he was at Bromby, right? But Dingby out there, they worked as coaches together.
Yeah.
And he's their DOF. Plus, he's got rid of loads of players in his club. He got Bergvall in, I think VDV coming under him. And he's as director of football. He'd have had something to do with this appointment, two fellow Danes. You know what I mean?
And Thomas Frank mentioned, didn't he? He said Levy, Lang, and Vinny. You know, there's the three people he kept mentioning as like at the top there. So yeah, I don't.
I mean, we had a shit season. I get the sneering marks towards Langer and all that because, like, you know, especially when, well, 9 of Paritici's players played in that final. Right? Right. So if you're going to get the slingbacks thrown at Lang, I get it, but he goes about his job quietly. If we get a left field signing, that will be him, right? Like the Bergvall one that we nicked off of Barcelona and whatever everybody else is like, and all that. And we might, you know, we might end up with Norgard even because he was very key to how Brentford played. You know what I mean? But he's 31, so you know. But if I haven't got nothing. I don't know what you guys are about bringing these older players in with experience. I've got nothing against them if you're going to get at least 2 years out of them. And in that period, you go in the transfer market and you prepare for their departure. So you don't have holes. You know what I mean? So
I mean, how old is Ronaldo? He's what, 40? Modric,
56. He's 56.
Yeah, Modric about 40. You'd take those two players in a heartbeat if they were 30, wouldn't you?
He didn't have enough stuff to blow the candles out on his cake. Guys, we've been going for 2 hours. I don't want to wear you out. I've enjoyed it. It's been thoroughly enjoyable and interesting. We've got 92 people viewing us now, which is fantastic. If you like the content, guys, please click on the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner, the red YouTube one. We can't see it because we're live, obviously. Our shows go out usually every Tuesday. Friday, Drew normally hosts, but he's busy today, so I'm hosting. I normally host Tuesday and host Sundays. But obviously, we're doing 2 shows a week now at the moment because like it's the transfer window and we're bored to crap with it, to be honest. And most of it's BS anyway, right? So, yeah. But we have got a Facebook group of 14,500. You can find us also. Let's get the banner up. If you want a link to our XCOM account, let's get it up. That's it. At Spurs Diehards. It's exactly how it is. If you want to find us on XCOM, we got 3,300 or 250 on there at the moment. That has been going along. We've also got a Facebook page. And we've got a WhatsApp group, which we use as a sync to get these wonderful guests on, right? Because they're easy to message in that. And if any of you ever want to come on the show, all we need is your phone number, basically, to add you to the WhatsApp group. And, that's fine. Also, I would like to add that Spurs Kings are a fantastic podcast. They're running a little podcast competition for all us podcasters out there. They put lots of us podcasters in groups. No doubt some will moan about the groups they've been putting like that'll happen. I don't particularly care. It's just a bit of fun. But you can, if you want to vote, don't just vote for us. Obviously, we'd like you to vote for us, but I mean, like, vote for others as well. If I get the link up, where are we? The link's here, the forms. You can go on there and vote. Vote for your favourite podcasters. Hope we're one of them. We're actually nominating 2 groups, you know. So go and cast your votes if you can be bothered, of course. Yeah.
I think I've already voted actually.
Yeah, and
I did. I did.
I'm just going to give these guys a little plug here. This is Alan in the top right-hand corner, right? It's Team Tottenham Go. Then we've got Steve, Stateside Footy here. And we've got our regular songster, Brad here, right? Get over and subscribe to their channels, guys. They all do good content. I mean, like Steve's trying to build his show at the moment. He's putting so many hours in doing it. I don't know how he puts all the hours he puts in. Right. So get over and subscribe.
You like Google Calendars is my secret.
Yeah. I'm not yeah. So yeah, I will keep putting videos out during this transfer window when we're linked with players and stuff. If we get anything, like I say, if anything breaks in and do a show Sunday, we'll quickly put one together. But we'll be back. Our shows are all going to go out at 10 o'clock UK time. So now,
can I point out that if you come on the show, you will not be abused, laughed at, or whatever. your opinions will be taken seriously and given respect. And I think that's brilliant. Honestly, I do think it's brilliant. And that's
those that follow us,
yeah,
know that we are
yeah.
I mean, we are a discerning Spurs group.
Yeah.
We do discuss the heavy stuff when it comes around. When there's a PR blunder, we don't hold barred. And when games are on, and when we do critique the team and manager when players play well, but we equally praise them as well when they do well. So like we pride ourselves in being what we call a mature and sensible group, and long may that continue. And we won't allow people to misbehave in the chat either, because we've got mods here that will deal with it, time out people and all that. We don't want to do that. We hope you enjoy the content and you keep it clean, obviously. So with that, guys, we've 90 of you viewing this here, which is fantastic at this time, right? We will see you Tuesday, guys. And with that, I want to thank my guests. I want to thank Ian, who came on earlier. He'll be on with me Tuesday. We'll get guests on, we don't know yet. And with that, I'm going to play you out with that, and I'll see you guys in the back room.
We are Tottenham diehards. Something I can't explain. We follow through sun and rain. When we lose, we don't complain. Yes we do, oh we do. But Tottenham Hotspur, I will love you till I die. I will love you, I die. I will love you till I die, till I die, till I die.